Hey friends, welcome back to my channel at The Starlings. I'm Peggy. I make videos about homeschooling, homemaking, and family discipleship. In today's video, I wanted to bring you some ideas and tips on feeding your family during the homeschool year. So I'm bringing you some breakfasts, some lunches, and some dinner ideas, and I'm going to show you what I fed my family for dinner for a whole week. So come along with me and I'll show you what we made this week. Okay, so first I thought I would start with some tips for you. So my number one tip, first of all, for feeding your family while you're homeschooling is to make all the decisions ahead of time. So decide what will be for breakfast, lunch, and dinner each day of the week. Have a plan and decide once, and that will keep you from scrambling and trying to figure out what do I have and what do I need, and if 5 o'clock rolls around and I still don't know what's for dinner, it avoids all of that, especially if you've had a difficult homeschooling day. So make all of your decisions ahead of time. My second tip would be to thaw out some meat. Even if you're not exactly sure what you're going to make yet, go ahead and get some meat into your drawer in the refrigerator so it can be thawing out. Because one of the other disasters when it comes to feeding your family during the week is I don't have anything thawed out. Everything's still frozen. So if you go ahead and get it thawing out, it'll be ready and waiting for you when it's time to cook dinner. So if you're planning everything ahead, making all those decisions once, and then you have all the meat thawing in your refrigerator, you're set up for success for the week. So my third tip is to prep ahead. We all wish we had meals that we could just snap our fingers and it was on the table, but we know it doesn't work that way. There are lots of meals we can make that are quick, but if you do a lot of the prep ahead of time, it's really going to help you out. So ways you can do this would be to make 2 of something whenever you're cooking dinner, make a second one, stick it in the freezer. Then you can just pull it out another day and have that maybe the next week or a couple weeks from then. Or you can also cut up vegetables ahead of time and put them in containers in the refrigerator. Or you can cook things ahead of time. That's something that I've done this week that I've been doing pretty consistently. I am cooking rice ahead of time and keeping that in the refrigerator. Just a ton of rice. So we can have it for lunch sometimes, we can have it for dinner, and it's really easy to pull out. It reheats well. So rice is a big one that I do. And then also chicken. I will grill a whole bunch of chicken, and then we have chicken for the meal that night, and then I'll have at least 2 other servings for 2 other meals during the week. So you can grill a ton of chicken and have that ready. Or any other meat. You can just go ahead and cook it ahead and put that in the refrigerator. The other thing is you could cook vegetables ahead of time. So I will take onions and peppers and cook those up and keep those in the refrigerator. And then I have onions and peppers that I can use in all kinds of dishes. And I use them 2 ways this week that you will see. So I'll show you how I utilize that. And that can also go into the rice in with some chicken and make a nice little grain lunch bowl. So nice and easy. And that's something that I often eat for lunch. So you can do that. So prepping ahead is really going to help you out. It's doing the work ahead of time or doubling what you were already going to be doing anyways. And that's really going to get you ahead for your week to make it nice and easy. So my 4th tip would be to multitask. If you have time during your homeschool day that you don't really need your hands can be doing something else. Even if you're still teaching your students, but they're doing something maybe a little more independent, you can be cutting things up or starting dinner prep. Even in the morning, you can start your dinner prep, just cutting things up or getting things ready so that when it comes time for dinner, you can just throw something in the oven or you can get something ready nice and quick. So definitely utilize multitasking during your homeschool day. Smile, smile. My last tip would be to practice thankfulness. Remember all of the people that are around your table that you're feeding. Be thankful for them. Thank the Lord for them every single day. Practicing that thankfulness is going to keep you from discontent that can often come with the concern of feeding your family each week. So be thankful to the Lord for all that He's given you and all the people that you have to feed. So beginning on Monday, I had a lot of ground beef. So I decided to make some meatballs and kind of figure out something with meatballs that's not spaghetti. So I'm going kind of the Asian route with this. So I added some garlic powder, some soy sauce, some salt. I added some crackers. I'm gonna put in some eggs and mix it up and make a more Asian style meatball. So I'm just getting that all put together and rolled up. I'm gonna go ahead and roll all my meatballs up. While I'm doing this, my kids are reading or doing some other schoolwork. I don't remember exactly what they were doing here, but it was something where I didn't need my hands with them, so they were either independent reading or doing something else that I could instruct them just with words. So I'm multitasking in that way. So I'm getting this all prepped ahead for dinner. So I'm gonna get these all finished up. You can also see there was a thunderstorm, lightning storm that day. So you're seeing like flashes of lightning and the lights blinked a couple of times, but that's Florida in the afternoon. We get a lot of thunderstorms and the lights sometimes blink. We didn't have any power outage, thankfully, but it was definitely rainy and stormy. So now I'm gonna cut up some carrots, and that's gonna be my vegetable that I throw in here. This is a very thrown together thing on this day, but I'm just cutting up the leftover little carrot, baby carrots that I had. So those are gonna go in it as well. So I'm getting some avocado oil into my pan here, and I'm just going to shallow fry my meatballs and get them ready. And I'm gonna start making some rice. Just until they're pretty browned on the outside. If they're not all the way done through the middle, that's going to be okay, because they're going to go back into the pan and we're going to add the sauce and everything, so they'll have a little bit more time to cook all the way through. These came out perfectly. They were not too hard on the outside. They were still nice and soft, especially with the addition of the sauce, and they were cooked all the way through. So this worked out really well. So the sauce I'm using for this is this Japanese barbecue sauce that I picked up from Costco. It's really delicious, has really good ingredients, so I'm happy to use that for the sauce for my family, and then I didn't have to make my own sauce, which you could easily do, but this was a nice, easy shortcut. So that's where I found this, is Costco, in case you want to try that. If you remember those peppers and onions I was telling you about, I used them a couple times in this week, and this is one of those times. I decided to just add some of that right in. It's towards the end of the dish, so this dish was almost finished, It's pretty hard to do this with one hand while you're trying to hold a camera. But I added that in, and that made a delicious addition and a little extra nutrients in this dish. So there's the rice, that is Andy's hand. And here's the completed dish. I just put some chives from the garden on top, and that was a delicious Monday dinner. Okay, tonight I'm going to utilize some of the things that I have prepped ahead, and we're going to have chicken fajitas, so super easy. So I'm going to put my tortillas in. All this is just going to get warmed up in the oven, nice and easy. This is some of the chicken that I grilled on Sunday when I was grilling more chicken for us. So I grilled extra. I had this pack, and then I have a whole other pack for another meal. Now the peppers and onions. And all this is already cooked, so I'm just putting it in the oven to warm it up. And I have a lot of little people. All of our kids are 8 and under. So when I make meals, it's more like making meals for 4 adults, because that's about how they eat. So that's why I have this quantity. You may want to do more for your family. So this is just going into the oven to warm up. I'll serve it with some chips and salsa and some guacamole, some sour cream, all the good stuff, and then dinner will be served. So at least once a week, I like to do a roasted chicken. It's generally pretty fast and it's hands off during the cook, just like you would throw everything into a crock pot, and that would be really easy. This is just throw everything into the pan and throw it into the oven. And it usually cooks for about an hour to an hour and a half, depending on how big your chicken is. But this tends to be pretty easy, and I can get all the prep work done during the day and put it in the pan, and I can even get the chicken ready and just keep it all in the fridge, and then take it out closer to when it's time to cook. Let it come up to kind of room temperature before I throw it into the oven. And then I have time to do other things, catch up on our school, whatever else I need to do while supper is in the oven. So I usually use sweet potatoes, so I'm peeling up a whole bunch of sweet potatoes, Brussels sprouts, and onion is what we usually add to the bottom into a Pyrex, and I'll cover that with some avocado oil and some seasonings, and then I'll put the chicken right on top. So during the prep, my children are doing their language arts, and I'm helping them just by talking to them, and we're going through the lesson, and eventually everybody ends up wanting to help, especially with cutting up the Brussels sprouts. So I do end up allowing everyone to kind of help me out with this, and it just becomes a fun family event, and that's fine too when that happens. So this is another really simple but really delicious dinner that you could make. And also we usually have some chicken left over, So you can pick all of the chicken off of the chicken frame, and you can use that in another meal during the week. You could put it in a soup, or I'll often put it in enchiladas, and that's a really good way to use this chicken. You could also use it in a chicken pot pie. So many ways that you could use the extra chicken off of this chicken. So to begin with, I'm going to pat the chicken dry, and I'm going to get some butter slathered all over it, some delicious grass-fed butter, and I'm going to use this Kinder's seasoning, which I also got from Costco. So this is another kind of quick, easy thing that I'm adding to it. You could add whatever seasonings you want, but this buttery steakhouse seasoning from Kinder's is really delicious. This is not sponsored by Kinder's, but if they would like to do that, that'd be awesome because I love their seasonings. But they make this really delicious buttery steakhouse seasoning. It's good on vegetables, it's good on chicken, it's good on steaks, it's good on so many things. So I'm using that on my chicken. So just rubbing it down with butter, putting some underneath the skin here on the breast, and then I'm gonna just season up with the Kinder seasoning, and then I'm gonna set it right on top. And I usually cook it with the back up first so that it can get cooked, and then I'll flip it halfway through so that the breast can then get cooked, and it'll come out looking nice and golden brown instead of just keeping it on the breast side and that side getting too dark or having to use foil to cover it or anything. I will just do it that way, flip it halfway through and have the breast up on the later half. So that works out really well, and it's a delicious, easy, quick dinner for my family. Happy Thursday morning. It's gonna be roast today. So for roast, I always like to get a nice sear on both sides of my chuck roast. That's gonna add a lot more flavor and make a really delicious roast. So I'm getting that seared up on both sides, and then I'll cut up my vegetables, add those in. I'm doing all of this in the morning so that I can spend the whole day just focusing on homeschooling and homemaking and family discipleship, all the tasks that I need to do, and I don't want to have to think about dinner again. So I'm just gonna get all of it done in the morning while the kids are doing their morning chores and getting ready to start our homeschool day. So I'm cutting up some red potatoes. That's what I usually like to use for this. You could also use the golden potatoes or yellow potatoes, but we like red. So I'm getting those cut up, and I'll put those in. And then I'm also putting in some of those carrots that I still have. So I'm just gonna dump those right on in, those baby carrots, and they'll cook through nicely. Don't have to worry about cutting those up at all. And I'm seasoning it with some sea salt, a good bit of sea salt in there. The potatoes need that salt. And then I'm going to add some pepper. And then I added in some onion powder here. You can also see some little bits of garlic. I just put the whole cloves in there, or sometimes I'll smash cloves to put in there. So put some onion powder on top, and then coming in with some garlic powder on top of that, and then a little bit of Italian seasoning over top of that. Then I'm adding in these Greek peppers. So this is kind of a Mississippi style roast, and I'm just adding in what was left in that jar. There was quite a bit of peppers in there, but it did not make this too spicy, thankfully. And you always want to add some of the juice from that jar also. And then I'm adding, this is probably about 6 tablespoons of butter just right on top. And that is ready to go. Just adding a little more salt since I didn't salt the meat earlier. So I'm getting that in there, some pepper also. And now it's ready to cook for the whole day. So now I'm able to just focus on homeschooling right now. We have some math we're doing here, some history that we need to do. We have a lot of read alouds this year, so we're doing that. And I don't have to worry about what's for dinner tonight. I can just focus on educating my children. So here's how the roast turned out. It's nice and tender, pulls away. I always cook it on low for 8 hours, always low. It turns out the best that way. And I made some biscuits to go along with that, and I'll have a video coming out about that pretty soon. So that was a little extra side for us tonight since I had some extra time. Here's our supper for that night. Okay, a couple quick lunch ideas. So, like I said, I always have rice in the refrigerator that I've cooked, and I've got those peppers and onions. I have some leftover chicken, either from that roasted chicken that I made or the extra chicken that I had grilled, so I can use that and make some little rice bowls with chicken. I'll eat that often for lunch each day. I change up whatever sauce or toppings that I put on it, and it's really delicious, and I never get tired of it. So the kids will have that too. You could also add some beans to the rice and have some beans and rice in a bowl with the chicken. You could add some vegetables on top. You could do tomatoes, cucumbers, things like that, or some of the roasted vegetables. Also, if you have extra meat, you can add some cheese and put it on a tortilla, and you have some quesadillas. So you could do quesadillas for lunch. That's really quick and easy. Another go-to for us is peanut butter and jelly. And we like to use a really good sprouted grain bread. We'll use some good peanut butter. Oftentimes I make my own with just peanuts and salt in my Vitamix, and then some really good fruit spread that just has simple ingredients in it. It's a really good peanut butter and jelly, very quick and easy. And the girls can often make that also for everybody. So sometimes the girls will just make lunch and they'll have that. I usually serve fruit as a side at lunchtime, either apples or strawberries or oranges, things like that. Another variation on the peanut butter and jelly would be peanut butter and honey. The kids really like that. You could also cut up some bananas and put that on there. That's a really delicious lunch. So I like to really focus on nutrient-dense foods for my family, like sourdough bread and raw milk and things like that, and all of that happens in our home, but sometimes other things happen also, like ramen noodles. So today for lunch, we're gonna have ramen noodles with some dumplings thrown in there and a little bit of curry powder. And that will be a fun lunch for the kids, and it's really quick and easy. So we do lots of nutrient dense foods, but there's also some other things thrown in there every now and then, and that's just real life and being realistic with what I make for the kids. On some occasions, especially if we have friends over or something, then I'll throw a bunch of chicken nuggets in the oven, and we'll have chicken nuggets and a side of apples. So that's really quick and easy also. So those are some lunch ideas for you. I didn't film a lot of those this week, but I just thought I would give you some of those ideas. For some breakfast ideas, so one idea would be some biscuits, which you can see over here on the counter. I make those at least once a week. I'm planning to have a video out about how to make biscuits, so I'm gonna show you how to do that. It's really quick and easy. So I'll pair that with bacon and eggs. I cook my bacon in the oven, so that makes it easy too. I don't have to babysit it, so that helps. Also, I will sometimes do an oatmeal bake. So here's the one from this week, what's left of it. And this is something really easy and delicious. Andy really likes this a lot. So this is so fast to whip up, and you don't have to use a lot of dishes. I usually stir it all together in the Pyrex dish, and then you just bake it up. I usually bake it the night before so that it's ready to go the next morning, but you could just put it together and then bake it the next morning when you get up. But this is a really easy thing. And then I also have a quiche recipe. I usually make a quiche at least once a week, and we have that usually available. There's none this week anymore. It's Friday, so there's no more quiche, but we usually have that once a week, and I have a recipe for that I can link for you and a video showing you how to make that. So those are really quick and easy because you just slice a piece of quiche, or you can slice a piece of this oatmeal bake and warm it up whichever way you choose to. I like to warm them in the oven, and then you can serve that to your family, and you can serve that with a side of fruit also. Another quick breakfast idea, I just picked up some all butter croissants, and I am working on a really fun breakfast sandwich. This is mostly for Andy and I, but I'm putting ham on it and some cheese and some honey Dijon, and toasting the croissant in the oven and a scrambled egg, putting all of that together and making kind of a Parisian style breakfast sandwich. And I made one this morning to try it out and see how it would work, and it was delicious. So I'm planning to make some of those and wrap them up and put them in the refrigerator for Andy and I so we can have that. Just pop it in the oven to warm it up. He can do that before he gets ready for work, so that'll be a new option for him. He's had a lot of quiche lately and a lot of baked oatmeal, so I was coming up with something else that would be a good option for him before work and something delicious for me before I get started with my homeschool day. One more thing for breakfast. I like to make a lot of my own bread products and things like bagels, but the other day I picked up these Silver Hills bagels. This one is everything, and this one is the plain. These had really good ingredients. I was really happy to see that. So I'm excited to serve these to my family. Everyone loves bagels, but I have not been able to make any lately. So I went ahead and picked these up. Like I said, they're really good ingredients. They are organic and sprouted flour, so all of that's really good. Excited to use that, and we can also put some avocado on the everything ones and have a little avocado toast, but bagel style. That's really delicious. Very millennial of me to do an avocado toast kind of thing, but it's really good. What can I say? So while we're all just kind of hanging out right now, I'm gonna go ahead and get started on supper tonight. So I'm gonna make something that we usually call bow ties because we make it with bow tie pasta, but I have penne instead of bow ties, so it won't be called that, but it's the same thing pretty much. So I'm gonna make a simple Alfredo sauce, so I'll show you how I do that. I'm gonna roast some vegetables in the oven, and I'm gonna use my grilled chicken from the other day that I still have. So I'm gonna throw all that together with the penne, the Alfredo sauce, the roasted vegetables, and the chicken, and it'll be a delicious pasta for us tonight. So that's what will be for supper. So this is some zucchini, some squash, and some fennel. If you've never had roasted fennel, it's really delicious. It tastes kind of like oniony in a way, but I am putting some avocado oil on that, and I'm gonna throw it in the oven and roast it for about 20 minutes, and then that'll be ready to go right into my pasta. So here's how I make a simple Alfredo sauce. I'm gonna use a stick of butter. So I will say my pan was way too hot. So you don't want your pan to be quite this hot. I had to move it off the heat. It got a little bit brown, but it wasn't terrible. I moved it off in time, so it turned out fine. But you want to heat it slowly. I just got busy with something. I was heating up the pan and it just got hotter than I realized. But you want to melt 1 stick of butter, or 8 tablespoons. Get that all melted, and then you want to get your garlic in there. I'm going to use a garlic press, and you measure garlic with your heart. You don't measure with a number of cloves. So put in however much garlic you like. We really enjoy garlic, so I make a pretty garlicky Alfredo sauce here. So you can use however much you want. I'm sure I use at least 8 cloves, something like that, possibly a little bit more. So you want to get those in and get that cooking for about a minute. So once it's nice and fragrant, then it's ready. And I'm gonna put in about 2 cups, half milk and half cream, or you can just use half and half if you have that. I never have half and half, but I always have whole milk and heavy cream. So I'm going to use some milk and some cream. You can do whatever ratio you want, but I usually do about 1 cup of heavy cream and 1 cup of milk. So that's going to go in. I'm going to whisk that in, and then this is when you'll want to cook it for about 10 minutes, just kind of simmer it so that it can start reducing down and becoming a sauce. Then you'll want to go ahead and add your seasonings. I'm just going to add some salt and some pepper here. You could also add a little bit of nutmeg. That's a traditional thing for a cream style sauce, and it adds a little something extra. So you could do that if you wanted to. You could also add some Italian seasonings to this if you wanted to, but I usually keep it simple. If I'm using some kind of Italian seasoning, I usually put that on the chicken for this dish, but you could use it in the sauce if you wanted to. So once you've got it nice and seasoned up, you want to let it continue to cook. So in total, it ends up cooking about 10 minutes, and I'll show you what it looks like. So once it's been 10 minutes, it usually looks about like this. You might have to turn it down even lower from the simmer, or you might want to take it off the heat depending on how hot it is. But at this point, when it's thickened up, you're ready to add the cheese. So I add about 8 ounces, 6 to 8 ounces of Parmesan cheese. You could do shredded or grated, whatever you have on hand. Either one will work for this. So I'm just going to add that in, whisk it up, and then you have your Alfredo sauce. It's ready to go for whatever dish you want. It's ready for what we call bow ties, but in this case it was penne pasta, but it's delicious. And once I learned to make this, I have never bought jarred Alfredo sauce again. So here are those roasted vegetables ready to go. So now I'm going to get this packed up and the Alfredo sauce packed up and keep it beside my chicken right here in the refrigerator until I am ready to put it all together later on when it's time for supper. Because this is earlier in the day, so I was getting everything prepped ahead of time. So I'll show you what it looks like when I put it all together. I've got the noodles boiled and drained. I took my stuff out of the refrigerator. I got my chicken and my roasted vegetables. They're in the pot here, warming up. Just getting them warm. And then I'm going to pour in my Alfredo sauce here. Get that in there. Get the noodles in there and stir it up. And we're ready to eat. There it is. Just stirred it all together. It's ready to go. I'm gonna have the girls come help set the table, and it's time to eat. You can serve it with a salad. You could serve it with some garlic rolls or something if you wanted, but that's it. Supper's ready. I hope this video was helpful for you. If it was, gave you some good ideas, please give it a thumbs up if you wouldn't mind. That helps support my channel. And let us know in the comments what your go-to homeschool meals are. It can be something for breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Let us know in the comments, and we can give each other some more good ideas for meals for our family while we're homeschooling. Thanks for hanging out with me, and I'll see you next time.